Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Rockies Now podcast. This is a Colorado Rockies podcast, unofficial, I'll add there, a Colorado Rockies podcast. I am one of the co hosts, Tom, and joining me is the other co host, Adam. Adam, happy Friday. What is going on?
Happy Friday, sir. Yeah, just getting off of work and de-stressing by talking about some baseball and talking about our Rockies and what the future holds. So excited to be here with you, man. It's been a while.
I'm always happy to be with you, my good sir. It has been a while and a lot's happened since we last talked. Of course, as I mentioned in our pre-show meeting, my wild card round picks, I only got one of them right. I correctly picked the Dodgers to take out the Reds in a 2-game sweep. And as you and I talked, as I specifically mentioned, when Hunter Green can't get the job done, you're going to have a tough time coming back in game 2. So,
Yeah, we're seeing the Dodgers pull into playoff mode here. I think they kind of, for lack of a better term, they kind of lollygag through the season because this is the season that they care about. So whoever runs into them, which is going to be the Phillies first, right? They're going to have a hard time getting those guys out. So,
yeah, and I got to, as I said, if you haven't seen it, there was someone compiled a pretty cool meme video of the Guardians. At one point, they were 15 and a half back in the AL Central Division race, and they ended up winning the division at the end of the very end of the season. Somebody compiled that with the movie Major League, which if you haven't seen that, I recommend you checking out. It's pretty cool. But the Tigers, they prevailed, and the Cubs, oh boy, they surprised me. There was some bad umpiring in that game 3 right there, as demonstrated. In case you haven't seen the video of the Padres literally getting in the faces of the umpires as they walked through their locker room. But again, that's another check in favor of ABS to be installed, which we will see next season. And of course, the last round. Wait, oh yeah. Shoot, I'm drawing a blank here. What was the other series again? I'm sorry, I could not remember.
The Yankees and Red Sox.
Oh God, what? And of course, I'm sorry. My guy Garrett Crochet getting the job done, but they just couldn't get the job done. And the Yankees, hats off to them. And like you said, the big matchup, I think, is going to be the Phillies versus the Dodgers, because the Phillies are my World Series pick. So,
yeah, before the year started, I know a lot of my predictions were awful. But I did have Toronto versus Philadelphia in the World Series as a rematch for the 1993 World Series. So as much as I would like to be correct about that, my Mariners are waiting to play in the NL or the ALDS tomorrow. So I'm hoping that they're going to make a run to the World Series. But if not, my prediction at least will live or have a life. Possibly.
Not sure if you saw my playoff bracket post, but I'm predicting the Phillies versus the Mariners in the World Series. I gotta say, I mean, real quick, just like you were concerned about the offense, not only has Cal Raleigh pulled away, Josh Naylor's help, Julio Rodriguez has had a quietly good season, so that complements the pitching.
The offense has been better than the pitching this year. So Kirby and Miller have had troubles staying healthy, and they've kind of taken a step back as a result. And Brian Wu has just skyrocketed to be the ace of the team. You've got Logan Gilbert, who doesn't pitch necessarily very good at home, and then you've got George Kirby, who doesn't necessarily pitch well on the road, and that's why Kirby's going to start tomorrow. But yeah, the offense vastly improved this year. Julio does this thing where he just doesn't show up for the first 2 months of the season, every season. And then he just, at the end of the year, you look at his numbers and he's 30-30, So, yeah, I'm excited about the Mariners. They will not have an easy task in the Tigers, though, because they are going to boast the best pitcher in any series, and they're going to have to face him twice.
I got to tell you, Turk Skubal,
unreal.
I mean, as much as I want to say my guy Garrett Crochet should win the Cy Young, Turk Skubal, it's going to be back to back for him. No, I'm sorry. And I got to say, he's going to sign a nice, lovely deal this offseason. If I'm the father of the ownership family of the Tigers, he was all for it, spending money. The kids, now that they're in control, don't seem like they want to spend much money. I can't remember the Tigers GM's name, but I do everything I can to try and convince him we got to keep Tariq. But it's going to be no easy task because Scott Boras is his agent.
Yeah, you might want to brace yourselves, Tigers fans, to just kind of enjoy him while he's there, unfortunately. But for my buddy Austin, who's a big Tigers fan, I hope that that's not the case. And I think it would be good for baseball for a star to stay in Detroit as opposed to jumping ship and going to LA or New York or wherever it might be. But a lot of Mariners fans are taking them lightly, and they shouldn't, because the Tigers, they've had their struggles. They blew the division, whatever. But the playoffs are a whole new beast, and they just proved to the world that they can get it done. So.
Honestly, I just think this is my opinion. I think some people are suffering from Astros playoffs hangover, if that makes any sense. The fact that they've been in control of that division basically for the last 7-8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And now that you got a newcomer or a new top dog, so to speak, air quotes there, I think some people just aren't all in the bandwagon for the Mariners. I'm on board with it. I think they've got a great team. The only thing that people would work against them is the fact they've been off for several days. But again, if you are, I think that's not going to really hurt you if you stay focused. I think this could be a well-matched series, but the one everyone's going to keep their eye on is, of course, the Phillies and Dodgers. You got arguably two of the best teams in the league going head to head. For the Phillies, I think this is one last hurrah with that core, because Kyle Schwarber is a free agent. So is Castellanos. I just remembered too. But they're going to be tested because they don't have Zach Wheeler. So,
yeah, I commend the Phillies big time, because I don't know how they got it done winning that division and being as good as they were without Zach Wheeler for the last part of the season. But they are good, and they have a lot of pitching other than him. No one can replace him. But I think the Phillies have as good a chance as anybody to get to the World Series. And if it is Philly and Seattle, I think that would be awesome. That would be quite a challenge for the Mariners. But the Mariners got to get through the Tigers first. And then I'm hoping any true Mariners fan knows, and I kind of have a soft spot for him now because my mom is a Yankees fan, and I love Aaron Judge. But any Mariners fan knows that we despise the Yankees. And we want to play them to get through them and go to the World Series, because it would just mean more. Although we do have a fierce rivalry with the Blue Jays as well. So I guess it would be fine either way.
I'm sure Mariners fans won't forget 2001.
Nope, we sure don't.
We
sure don't.
Had the best record in baseball, and you got upset in the first round.
Yeah.
Not to bring up old history, but obviously it's what it is. But Yankees, Blue Jays, now that Yankees, Red Sox is they're out of the way. Now you got to deal with a team that the Blue Jays arguably have one of the better, if not maybe in some people's minds, the best pitching staff in this playoff pool here, because you got Barrios, Gausman. He has been on a tear lately.
Unbelievable.
He has been just lighting batters up left and right.
Highest rated fastball in the league. So yeah, whoever runs into Toronto is going to have quite a challenge in front of them too. And then a lot of that had to do with Bo Bichette finding it offensively during the season too. That really helped the Blue Jays. And I really liked the way they put their team together in the offseason. And, here it is. They've got a great chance to go to the World Series too. So whoever the Mariners face, the Tigers, the Yankees, the Blue Jays, they're all going to be challenges. It's the best of the best. And I'm hoping the Mariners will show up.
And don't forget, of course, Jeff Hoffman. He's not a fantastic year, but he's had a nice quality year for the Blue Jays in their bullpen. So that's nice to see too.
Yeah, he wasn't as good as he was in Philly, but he's still a lot better than he was when he was with the Rockies. Unfortunately,
he filled a role when needed. So for them, and he's on the roster for the division series, I believe. So
he is.
But again, we shall see. It's going to be interesting. I know. The one thing, one executive that on one of the podcasts I listened to said this: some of the best teams have the best run organization, or the teams that perform. The best stories or teams to watch are the ones where their depth is tested. You have teams that had to go through injuries, like the Phillies. Pointed out they overcame Wheeler. The Mariners have had some pitching injuries this year, and they've overcome that. So that's the best thing. And I don't need to talk about the Dodgers anymore. But
the Tigers. I mean, all their pretty much their whole starting staff and like most of their bullpen, like Jason Foley. You're telling me that guy wouldn't make a difference in a playoff series right now?
Mhm.
So, they're another team. Heck, the Reds were a testament to that too, going through some injuries and things like that. And I think every team just kind of, the Brewers even, Woodruff is out for the series, I believe,
Mhm.
if not for the whole playoffs. And Mizorowski hasn't been the Mizorowski that we saw at the beginning of his career there a few months into the season. And so, that team has also been tested. And every time you question the Brewers, the regular season Brewers, I should say, they just
Mhm.
find an answer. So now for the Brewers, it's going to be, can you guys get it done in the postseason? You are the top dog in the National League. You have home field advantage throughout. Can you get it done? And I'm not sure the Cubs are the best matchup for them. So we'll
That's
see.
and that's the point. That's the last series you have to kind of comment on here. But the fact that that's also another rivalry thing. And like I said, the Cubs had the
Mhm.
momentum coming off the series
Yep.
win. And the good news is for the two fan bases, you only got to go 90 minutes in between the two cities. So fans are gonna travel, as you obviously know. But that's the thing. The Brewers, as you point out, they were the regular season top dogs or champs, you could say. Now but again, you said October baseball, different animal.
Yep, and I think that series will go the distance for sure. It just has to. It's Cubs, it's Brewers. Yeah, all the way. And as much as it's as fun as it is, Tom, to talk about all these teams in the playoffs, I wish we were talking about the Rockies and getting hyped for a game at Coors Field tomorrow instead.
Man, as much I would love that so badly. And same thing, whether it's the White Sox or the Rockies, I love to see one of them in the postseason, but we're a couple years away from at least one of them. But anyway, we're going to keep eye tracks on the playoffs and see how it goes. But let's move into the Rockies. As we all know, the biggest news coming out of late is recent, and Steven was on to talk about the other day. Bill Schmidt has wink, wink, stepped down from his position, but we all know what that means. And truthfully, that's the public statement, but really he was let go at this point. We can all agree that's what the case was. Just to give people a background about Bill Schmidt, he has been with the Rockies for I can't remember how long, but it's been a long time. He originally was a scout in the organization, became the director of amateur scouting, and then when Jeff Bridich was let go, meaning terminated, he was promoted internally to the general manager seat. And it was since the 2021 season, the Rockies have not really gotten any footing. So if I want to say this, the Monfort kids got into Dick's ear and said, Dad, we have to move differently. And now we're hearing rumors about Thad Levine. Adam, we talked about this in the pre-show meeting. What I said my piece, I'll let you say your piece about this thing.
I think it's exciting from a Rockies fan perspective to hear a different name. I will say that. Any name, any name that's not in the building right now, I think Rockies fans would be open to. However, I think what a lot of people are afraid of is that they're going to say, yep, we're going to go outside of the organization, but they're just going to try to lean on an option that they're already familiar with, like a Levine, like a Mozeliak, possibly, if they try to lure him out of retirement somehow. Those are the things that are making us a little bit weary of what's going on with the Rockies. And the other thing, too, for me is, are we hiring this guy as a president of baseball operations, or are we hiring him as a GM? Because two things concern me there. If they're hiring him as the GM, so we're supposed to trust Walker Monfort to make a good decision on what an MLB GM looks like. I'm not sure, with all due respect, that I'm on board with that. So if you're hiring a president of baseball operations, a guy who can bring his own GM, his own manager into the Rockies organization, I think that would be a welcome change for everybody. But I think we're hoping, and we talked about this before we came on, Tom, that the Rockies are going to lean into options that aren't familiar with the Rockies, like a Tampa Bay Rays exec or a Brewers exec, Guardians, like the teams that are building teams the way that the Rockies are going to need to. That's what we're hoping to see. And my last thing that I'll say here is it needs to be a search. It needs to be an actual search. You need to have multiple candidates. It can't be like, oh, yeah, we're going to go on a search and then you just hire Levine, because I don't think that's going to make very many Rockies fans happy, Tom.
No, the point is, well, first of all, on Thad Levine, he is the former Twins general manager. He was the general manager from 2017 to 2024. In those seasons, he made the playoffs post 4 times. However, they did not get past the division round, including I think it was one of them might have been a sweep or at least an all game series against the Yankees. And again, I brought this up in the pre-show. He was with the Rockies from 1999 to 2005 too. So to your point, we got to stick. I don't want to stick away. I don't want to stay away from the familiarity aspect of it. I don't want a familiar hire. You and I have commented this on previous shows. Interview every single top tier candidate from the Guardians, the Rays, the Brewers. I would even throw in teams like the Mariners again. I would throw their name into the pool because they, of course, are great at developing pitchers. And we don't need to pillage, of course, the front offices of these high budget, large market teams, because we're not to say we're not a great market. It's just that we need to work in within the confines of what we got to do. It's tough to lure big name free agent pitching to Colorado. So that's the thing. I want to interview as many candidates as possible, but again, if we were on the council of fans or Rockies fan pages to maybe give some advice, I would say that, but who knows? I just want somebody who's fresh, and to your point, fresh with no direct or indirect knowledge of the organization. Bring in someone who has new ideas, a fresh set of eyes, and fresh set of ideas.
Yes, and I do believe, Tom, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on the source here, I think it was Morosi or one of those guys that tweeted out that there is this misnomer about GMs not wanting to take this job or front office execs not wanting to take this job. And me and Steven touched on this the other day, or was it yesterday that we were on? Mm-hmm. And I said, there's no way that these GMs who are really good at what they do, they've obviously climbed the ladder and they're ready to take jobs, right? There's no way that these guys would shy away from a challenge like this. Mm-hmm. There's no way that you would drop the opportunity to become really a trailblazer in the baseball world in figuring out how to build winning baseball, sustainable winning baseball at Coors Field. And whoever that writer was, I'm sure you'll find out. He said that people are champing at the bit for this job. So I think that we can throw that stuff out the window. I know that there's guys out there that would love to try and figure out how to win at Coors Field. So I don't think the Rockies are going to have to deal with that problem.
No, it was John Morosi who said that.
It was Morosi. Okay.
Yes, and let's keep in mind. It's all. Hey, it's all good. I mean, there's a lot of well-known names in baseball media, whether they work for a major network or some independent sourcing. So it's okay. But anyway, so the point is, just like professional athletes, these general managers and front office executives, they are insanely competitive. The reason they get to that level of the executive offices is because they're so competitive and they're driven to achieve greatness. And let's keep in mind also, the Rockies are one of 5 organizations who don't have a ring yet. And also keep in mind, for Major League, whether it's president of baseball operations or Major League Baseball general manager, there's only 30 of those positions in existence. So just to have one is, first of all, a huge accomplishment in and of itself. And number 2, if you are if you are that general manager or that head baseball exec that delivers an organization its first World Series. I mean, right now, Chris Young, a couple years ago, he's now in the record books as being the general manager who delivered the Texas Rangers their first World Series championship. He's that general manager, and Bruce Bochy manager, obviously. So that's the thing. So to stamp your name in history, well, not just organizational history, but also baseball history, that's quite a crowning achievement. And to do it, as you mentioned, as you kind of pointed out, at a place like Coors Field, where pitching, just figuring out the right formula, the right attack, the right approach is a huge research project of trial and error and everything in and of itself. That would be a major accomplishment. Because again, this organization has only been to the World Series one time. And we all know, unfortunately, how that, and we ran into a juggernaut of the Boston Red Sox, and I won't reattach history. That's for another day. But the point is, there's people who would take this job if offered it. No
question about it. And I think one thing that I want to touch on, Tom, is if the Rockies do this right and they bring in a president of baseball operations, I want them to leave that person to do their job. You're hiring a baseball guy. Just be the money. Just be the resource that helps him build a baseball team, but let him do his thing. I don't want to hire a guy and then a year later we find out there's a strained relationship between him and the Monforts and he doesn't want to be part of the Rockies anymore. So, things like that. I want upfront transparency from the Rockies to say, hey, this is your job. This is your show. We're going to step aside. You are going to make all the baseball decisions, and we are going to provide you the resources to build a winning baseball team in Colorado. And that's really what I'm looking for from the Rockies. They have the opportunity not to make things right, but to take a huge step in the right direction. And I know all of us joke all the time about selling the team, and they want them to sell the team, the Monforts. They don't necessarily have to sell the team. They need to get out of the baseball operations. And that's all we're asking, is let baseball people make baseball decisions, and you make decisions on building McGregor Square, building rooftops, all your brilliant, and I'm not being facetious here, you're brilliant marketing, brilliant businessman, be that, and let the baseball men be the baseball men. And I think if the Rockies can do that, they will become a destination for a lot of players. Players want to come here. They want to be drafted here. There's a ton of potential. And I think if they hire the right guy, we're going to be well on our way.
Real quick before I address that, Lux, thank you for correcting me in the comments. The 2001 Mariners got eliminated by the Yankees in the ALCS. I think I may have said the division series, so thank you for correcting me, Lux. So yeah, I just want to do that real quick. So just want to say that. And yes, Rymack and Trevor Story are so sorry, show the comment there. So thank you, Lux, for that. And yes, it is Rymack versus Trevor Story that just happened, and Rymack's team was the victor. So yeah, and by the way, that was an incredible play that he made. I'm glad he didn't hurt himself when he went into the dugout.
Amazing play.
And it's funny, real quick, we'll go back to what we were talking about in just a second, but it's amazing. It's funny how some people were, oh my God, he's that good defensively. Clearly you guys weren't paying attention. This guy was not a Gold Glove winner, but a multiple-time Gold Glove nominee.
Fantastic defender, and any actual baseball fan knew this. Yankees fans were talking about this when they got him, but I can tell that some of the guys on ESPN and some of the talking heads around the world are just, you see stuff on social media. I had no idea that this guy could play. I'm like, what do you think they traded him for? Like, come on.
Jazz Chisholm's not a third baseman. They needed a third baseman.
Correct.
He's below, I would say just below average as the defensive third baseman, but he's not a great defender overall. They needed to shore up that corner there. I mean, third base is something, if you can put a quality defender there, I would take that 9 times out of 10. 7 days a week and twice on Sunday. But anyway, so that's just want to address those right there. But back to that. Yeah, the point is, when it comes to ownership, I will say this. The good news is I'm sorry, but we don't have sorry, Angel fans. It's a good thing we don't have Artie Moreno, because from what I know of him, when you work for Artie Moreno, you basically are doing whatever he tells you to do. That guy is actively involved in basically every aspect of the organization. And again, you own the team. You can do whatever you want. But to your point is, if I was an owner or I was advising the owner, you hire baseball people to do baseball things. Now, I think any owner is free to ask questions. So if we're signing so-and-so to a 8-year deal worth this much money, I'm going to ask questions. Okay, you need to convince me. Why should I write these checks? What is he going to do for us in the first 4 years and the second 4 years? What could we project his decline to be? Because he's not going to be elite for the remainder of all 8 years. But at this point, I agree. We should, whether we hire a president of baseball ops and he brings his GM, or we hire a GM that is the main voice, there needs to be somebody who's one main voice. And again, I don't know. I want to get your take on this real quick to a side comment. I didn't see Bill Schmidt a lot in terms of media availability. I would just like a little more transparency out of this new GM. I would like a guy who maybe once every other week on a homestand, just do a little press conference from the dugout, just sit there, take questions from all the reporters. Maybe we'll be one of them someday. What's your take on that? I just like somebody who's a little more accessible to the media as well. Because Bill Schmidt did not seem, not that he's a guy who didn't want to talk. It just seemed like he's not the kind of guy who you could always ask questions to.
I feel like there's a lack of transparency in the organization in general. There's not a lot of accessibility to Monfort either. And I think that's not a rare thing in baseball. I think a lot of these owners kind of just stay in the back and run the show without being seen or having to take accountability. But I would have loved to have seen the Rockies come out and say, what Bill Schmidt did is commendable, but the results on the field were unacceptable. So we are letting him go. When you come out and say that a guy is stepping down after three 100 loss seasons or whatever it was, right? 3 really bad seasons. It's a really bad look. And it lends itself to what we're talking about with the bad transparency, lack of transparency. Come out, have a press conference and say, hey, Rockies fans, we know that you guys deserve better. You show up to the ballpark all year, every year. You guys love this team. You're with us, good or bad, and we want to do better for you. So we are going to relieve Bill Schmidt of his job today, and we're going to dedicate ourselves to an external job search to bring in a new president of baseball operations, and we're going to take your questions too. I think that's what they should have done. Mm-hmm. So from the very start, I think the Rockies have kind of rubbed people the wrong way because an Instagram post, it seems very disingenuous in my opinion, right? So come out, have a press conference, face the media, take the questions, and get it, give us the transparency that we're asking for. So do I hope that they have that moving forward from the next guy who's going to lead this baseball department? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But based on their actions already from the jump in this situation, I'm not sure we're going to see that, Tom.
The other thing also to add to your point about giving the new either president of baseball ops or general manager, not just give him reign about building the team. Also, I want to bring in, this is another thing, bring in somebody who's going to evaluate the entire development staff, because another thing that we can say, the record is one thing, but there was little to no, I'm not saying there's no development, because we saw some like Hunter Goodman, Jordan Beck, and some bright spots from Chase Dollander and Kyle Karros, and etc. But the point is, there's not a ton of optimism in terms of from what we see in the minor league system overall. I'm not, and sorry to all the minor league players, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to degrade any of you guys, but what if they don't have access to the best training tools or the best training practices or facilities or everything? Let these new executives evaluate all the staff and make whatever necessary changes. Look at this, like this person, you're not doing your job. Sorry. See you later. Bring in people who are not from the top down, people over the top who want to win, but also who reports to him or her. Again, Kim Ang, I'm not saying she's going to get hired, but I'm just saying that for sake of, give that person the full authority to rebuild whatever department he wants, whether it's the analytics department, player development, scouting, training staff, whatever the case may be, because it's one thing for the players to be extremely talented, because we still have faith in Ethan Holiday, Chase Dollander, all them, all the young guys ever. We have faith in them, but why not give them the access to the best coaches, training staff, resources, all that? That's my other thing. I'll get real quick side example. Chris Getz, when he was hired by or promoted by the White Sox to be the new general manager, he made a lot of staffing changes. He made a lot of facility changes. So again, same thing. Give our players the resources to be the best they can in their careers, however short or long they are.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that's why we are begging the Rockies to do a search with the Rays, the Brewers, the Guardians, because that person's going to come in here and say, if you guys want to win, this needs to be rebuilt. This needs to be rebuilt. I need my own people here. We need more analytics. All the little things that it's going to take to build a winning franchise in Colorado. That person has to be given the opportunity to just overhaul everything.
And at the same time, also, again, Warren Schaefer, I commend him what he did. He did as great a job as he could have with what he was given and the situation he was put in. Again, he inherited a team with a 7-33 record at the time when Bud Black was relieved of his duties. He was promoted. So, but also give the GM a full autonomy to do a widespread managerial search. And again, that probably will include Warren Schaefer. He's going to get a chance to interview for the job. as well as another job within the organization. But again, it's all about to our both our points, transparency and just full authority. But again, we're dealing with Major League Baseball owners. They're octogenarians. Some of them think they know, I don't want to say everything, but almost everything when it comes to running a successful organization. But the reality is they don't. That's why you hire baseball people to do baseball things. And again, I'm just giving my opinion.
Yeah, and I think you're totally spot on, to be honest with you. And we're being as nice about this as we possibly can, Tom, because I know inside we are screaming as Rockies fans that we deserve better and that we're upset, right? We've had enough. And I think that the Rockies, in a way, understand this. But yes, the Rockies need to get this right when it comes to president of baseball operations, GM manager. They can't hire another Bud Black. With all due respect to everything that Bud Black did in his career as a baseball player, as a coach, we can't have a dinosaur in here with a young team. It just isn't going to work. You need a guy that knows how to talk to young players, how to get them through their ups and downs, how to lead a group of men. You need somebody like that. And Warren Schaefer fits the bill, if you ask me. So should he be given the opportunity to interview for the job? Absolutely. Should we be looking at guys like Skip Schumacher, who have proven that they can take young teams to the playoffs as well? Absolutely. Would he want to come to the Rockies? All that's up in the air, but they should be casting as wide a net as possible, Tom, for president of baseball operations, GM, manager, free agents, all of it. They should be exploring every option to get better for next year, because another 100 loss season is not going to be acceptable.
I mean, if you have 4 in a row, you're going to have, I mean, we're a fantastic fan base. I mean, we had one of the higher attendances of baseball. I mean, we showed up because, again, we love the ballpark. We love the weather. We love everything about Denver and, of course, and our team. So you got to give us something. It's like, throw us a bone here to chew on, for crying out loud. Give us a reason to be more optimistic than we are. It's,
bring Rockies fans back. You gotta earn them back now, because people just don't care about the Rockies anymore.
Earn our trust back. And also, I mean, around the league, we're, I don't want to say just completely invisible or irrelevant, but I don't want to be in irrelevancy, to be honest with you.
Flyover city in baseball, 100%.
So real quick, I know we talked about Thad Levine in his intake. Another name that's thrown out there is Dayton Moore, who's former GM of the Kansas City Royals. Now he's a senior advisor of baseball operations, and I think he's in one of the main people who advises Chris Young, who's the general manager of the Rangers. Levine is good, and you and I talked about Carlos Rodriguez, who was it yesterday or 2 days ago? His departure from the Rays.
It was today.
Oh, it was today. I thought it was. I'm sorry. I thought it was yesterday. Well, just to give people background, pre-show meeting, we did some searching. We saw that, as you know, last year, for people who don't know, the Rays, when Peter Bendix, who is now the Rays general manager, the Marlins general manager, departed the Rays, the ownership, which was in flux about sell, not sell, this, everything. They didn't bring on a officially new general manager. They had 4 different assistant GMs running the team. Carlos Rodriguez was one of them. He just departed, so he could maybe be a candidate that. And as you said, Adam, he said, I want to pursue other opportunities. Was his words?
Correct. He had been with the Rays for 15 seasons, and it was just time for him to explore new possibilities. And I'd have to think, Tom, that having 4 assistant GMs in Tampa Bay probably played a huge part in that. But if he's looking to, become the GM or the president of baseball operations somewhere, that's got to be a guy that we should be talking to, because that is the organization that the Rockies should be molding themselves after. If we have to pick just one, Tommy, you can disagree, but I think that's the one.
No disagreement. I mean, I'll make a point. The funny joke you and I talked about, if you have 4 assistant GMs, who's doing the press conferences? Who's making the main? You have 4 different voices trying to make one decision. Come on. I mean, discussion and conversation and maybe debate is good, but not always a healthy way to run a team. I mean, you need one. Who's going to make that one decision? What is it, a coin flip? Or is it like, we'll pick a number 1 through 4 out of a hat, and whoever's number it is, we go, okay, you had number 2. We're going with your decision. It's like whatever. But again, to go about the Rays, that's 15 years in a team that knows how to evaluate pitching. So you bring somebody with that knowledge and experience, come to Colorado. Maybe he can, he not only he, but he can bring along some other people to work within the organization, help figure out what is the best strategy or strategies for when it comes to pitching at Coors Field and pitching at altitude. So that's a big thing. And then the last name that came up, Adam, and this has to do with your Mariners. Adam McKay, the Mariners assistant vice president and assistant general manager. I think he has some ties to Colorado. So again, that's another name. He was a Dipoto hire. So maybe, I don't know. Again, maybe that's another name. I don't know if you're familiar with the guy. Maybe you have your thoughts on him.
Yeah, well, I think overall, when it comes to the Mariners, if you guys haven't noticed, they have the top farm system in baseball right now. They have 9 top 100 prospects right now. And on top of that, you're looking at a team that's getting ready to host a playoff game tomorrow, right? You're looking at a team that has developed a pitching staff full of aces for the last however many years. Right, you've got Cal Raleigh developing under them, Julio Rodriguez. I think anybody who's learning from the Mariners problems have never been the development of players or signing players. It's always been the ownership. Are we actually going to be able to sign players? But when they do sign players and make trades, they make smart trades. They make really good trades for the future. They don't mortgage their future. I think the Mariners would be another good team that the Rockies could mold themselves after and have a lot of success.
I would agree. I mean, it's like you said, and here's another point I'll make about the interview process, and we'll move on here. When it comes to the interview process, even if you don't hire said candidate, you still say, get as many ideas as you can to how, okay, we'll take this guy's idea. We'll tell our new general manager, hey, have you thought of this idea? We got this from that guy. So that's what a smart organization that wants to get better thinks. But again, you and I just giving our opinions. We're not advising anyone in the front office, and we're not working in the front office. So we're not understanding of what exactly is going on. But again, there's pieces you can work with, but now it's all about development because we're more of an internal development team. And maybe we can lure that one or two big bats to Colorado. Cause again, ball flies a little further and farther, but again, we'll see. So yeah, again, this, from my understanding, we're probably gonna have to wait until after the World Series concludes to find out who the new GM is. Maybe we will beforehand. I don't know, but I'm sure they want to get it done as soon as possible because you want to have somebody in charge by the time the signing period, the non-tenders come around, which is approaching pretty fast. So we'll see. So that's just a couple of names, just a couple of names to throw in the hat.
It needs to be a president of baseball operations, or my faith in the organization is not going to be very strong. Mm-hmm. And we need a complete overhaul of baseball within the Colorado Rockies organization. We need somebody who can build this thing from the bottom up and make it a place where guys want to play. Mm-hmm. I know that these guys will tell us that they're blue in the face, that they love being a Rocky, but nobody likes losing 100 games a year. If they had a chance to go play for a winning organization, any winning organization, they would jump at the chance to do that. And we need to become one of those organizations. And the Rockies have to get this right because we're going to be sitting with this guy. What would you say, Tom? 3 to 5 years, at least 5, right? Probably, with a new GM or president of baseball operations trying to build a new winning culture here.
The usual, the standard contract typically for a new GM is around 4 to 5 years, I believe. So I think I would give, if I'm hiring a general manager or president of baseball ops, I'm saying, listen, you got 3 years to get some sort of positive results here. And then by year 4, we should be talking about taking a big next step. By year 3, I would think you got to have a young nucleus group of players to build around. That would be my timeline.
Yeah, I think the Rockies, if they hire the right guy, make the right moves, they should be contending for a playoff spot in 2027.
This is a results-based business. If the results aren't there, I mean, again, that's how I view it. I mean, if you want accountability, it's a result. It is a bottom line. There's winners and losers. Nobody likes a loser. And again, you commend especially the young guys for continuing to show up and work hard and build that routine when you lost as many games as the Rockies have this, not just this season, but the last 3 seasons. You got to give not just the fans, but the players something to really, really, really be excited about.
Well, and there's no excuse, right? You see Cleveland, they're always in the playoffs. They spend no money, but they develop their players so well. They pitch so well. They play sound baseball, and that's why they're always in the playoffs. The Rockies are in a market and in a position where they can definitely spend money. They have spent money recently. So if we can partner that, make the right signings, I should say, partner the right signings with player development, we could be a juggernaut in the National League. And I don't say that as a joke. I really think the Rockies could do that. But my message to management before we change subject is turn on the game tomorrow when the Seattle Mariners are hosting the Tigers, and turn on the game when the Blue Jays are hosting the Yankees. Turn on all these games and look at those home crowds. Look how electric it is. Look how good it is for the city. Look how everybody's talking about the baseball team and not the football team, except maybe in Philadelphia. Look at all those situations and ask yourself, do I want this for my team, for my franchise, for my fans, for my city? And if you don't, then just keep doing what you're doing. But if you do, you need to make the right changes so that we can get there together. Because I want to be going to Coors Field tomorrow for a playoff game, Tom.
And think about how electric that atmosphere would be, because it'd be the first time since 2018 since we've had a home playoff game. We only had one in 2018, remember?
Yeah, and it was abysmal because it was cold and the Rockies did not play good at all.
But when we have that more of a formidable, not trying to discredit that team, but it's just, if we have a team that's not afraid to back down ever, or a team that's not afraid to take on the higher seed, or a team that's got grit, not to say the 18 team didn't, but again, think about how much energy there would be from us just knowing, hey, it's been so long. We're ready to let our enthusiasm just spill out.
100%. Like I said, I would much rather, and I love the Mariners, don't get me wrong, but if the Rockies and the Mariners were playing tomorrow and the Rockies were at home, I would be going to the Rockies playoff game at Coors Field without a doubt. There are fans out here, Dick Monfort, that love the Rockies, and we want nothing more than to see them win a championship. So you are the guy in charge. You need to deliver this for us.
Also, there's fans outside of Denver. I'm one of them. My wife actually has a colleague whose husband is a big Rockies fan. So, Dick, ball's in your court, man. It's on you. Because remember, you're the owner. Everything filters up to ownership. It's on you, man. Come on. I mean, if I were in your shoes, maybe it should be my insane psychotic. If I was the owner of a team, I'd want to win so bad, especially in a division where you're looking up at the almighty Dodgers, air quotes here, dethrone them. But come on, what is it? They've won 12 of the last 13 division titles. Let's dethrone them. Somebody knock them off their pedestal.
Yeah, I would not sleep at night until I figured out a way to dethrone the Dodgers. It's not impossible. You're just not putting in the work. You're just not doing it.
Any juggernaut, like it's like this, any juggernaut can be knocked off, can be dethroned. Even like, think of it this way. It's like a David versus Goliath. We're taking on the Dodgers. They're Goliath. Even David took down Goliath. Or, think of any movie where the bigger guy loses to the smaller guy. The point is, the Dodgers are not invincible. They're not the number 1 seed this year. They're the defending champs, but they're not the number 1 seed. So we'll see. But again, we're going to keep an eye on, and we're going to keep tabs on this and keep updating everybody and following the story as it comes along. We'll see we can only hear rumors, but once that official announcement is made, we will be coming back on to talk with you about it. So I did this research the other day. I don't think we want to torture our listeners and followers with talking about where the Rockies ranked in terms of all the statistical categories across offense and pitching. So let's just move on and talk about some specific players. Adam, I'll throw it to you. We are obviously doing our season awards this year. I got to say there's a couple of guys that I'm pleased with. First of all, Do you want to talk about Hunter Goodman first? I mean, my goodness, that guy.
Absolutely.
Go ahead. I'll let you kick this one off. Give me your take on Hunter Goodman, because it's cool that we had because of course in Seattle, Cal Raleigh having the season that he did. Here in Colorado, we had Hunter Goodman, another backstop, having the season that he did.
100%. So Hunter Goodman, what else can you say about the guy? He had more home runs on the road than at home, which is something that is extremely impressive for any player, but more impressive for a Rockies player. His OPS was pretty similar on the road. His OPS was, I believe, 803 on the road. You build a team of Hunter Goodmans moving forward, you're going to be in a good place. I think he's such a good building block for the Rockies for the future. And before this season, we were wondering, like, are we going to find a place for him to play? You know, because we didn't see him as necessarily, I think you might have, Tom, but we didn't see him necessarily as an everyday catcher. We knew that he had played other positions in the past, and we were trying to find a place for him. Now that we found a place for him, we can build a team around him. And I think that he did such an outstanding job as a catcher this year, being able to handle this staff as best as he possibly could at Coors Field. I think he was absolutely outstanding. And I think, unfortunately, Tom, people are just going to forget, not us, but people around the baseball world are just going to kind of forget about this tremendous season from Hunter Goodman. I mean, if you really think about it, if we were in a playoff race, he would be in an MVP discussion. That's how valuable he was to the Rockies this year. And so he wouldn't win, of course, over Ohtani and things like that, but his name would be mentioned at least. That's how good of a season I felt like he had. And nothing more needs to be said about it. He was just absolutely outstanding. He kept a positive attitude all season long and just kept doing his thing, no matter how bad the team played. That had to have been incredibly difficult. I've been on teams like that where, you know, we've had one guy that kind of just sticks out and plays better than everybody else, and everybody else kind of stinks it up. And he was that guy outside of a couple exceptions. And I think for him to show that mental fortitude, it only lends itself to more success moving forward. And I'm really hoping that the Rockies will get some more around him, and his numbers will just go up.
Well, yeah, to your point, here's a good thing about him. He played 144 games this year, which for now he didn't catch all those games, but it was great that we had him in the lineup that many games out of the 162. And to your point, I mean, I think in our preseason we were talking about just having Stallings and Romo as the catchers throughout the whole season, and I think we thought that Goodman was just going to be a bench player the whole year, but no. Once Stallings was completely out of the picture, we basically said, "Hey, Goodman, here you go." And also, to your point about if we had our lineup around him, we would see better statistics. We just saw more home runs because he would have benefited from having so many other top, more talented bats around him. He would have benefited from that. Like if we had a lefty batting in front or behind him, that's the thing. And also, you got to commend a young catcher like that, because people don't realize the number of work and preparation and meetings that a catcher has to be in. He has to be in the pitchers meetings, the catcher development, the strategy meetings, because again, the catcher is responsible for not sometimes calling every pitch, but calling almost every pitch, you know, coming out there, giving the signals to set the new defenses if they need to be changed based on the hitter. So given the fact that this was his first full season and he was an all-star in a very crowded National League field, it's great for him. So we'll just have to wait and see, because again, just for reference, he was second on the team in games played. Number one was Jordan Beck at 148. So it's really, really good. And, you know, it was great that he played as well as he did, but also played as many games as he did. So again, 2 big thumbs up for Hunter Goodman in this regard. So
100%.
And, I also I want to give a big, again, Brenton Doyle, real quick. He played 138 games, and again, we don't need to touch on the personal struggles that he went through. I still wish him and his family all the best in terms of what happened, but he had a really good year, given the fact that he had a really bad start to the season. So I think he'll bounce back and have a great season next year in 2026. But here's something interesting. Mickey Moniak in 135 games, he had a quietly solid year because in 135 games, he played a solid outfield, but he had 24 home runs and 68 RBIs with an OPS of 824.
Yeah, there was one point where he was like the hottest hitter in the league. I think it might have been entering August or September. I can't remember, but I remember Thomas Harding wrote an article about this, and he was literally statistically the best hitter in baseball over a stretch. And, to touch on what you were talking about, Tom, for him to go through what he went through and to still show up every day and to do his best, under similar circumstances, I would have crumbled, man. Like I wouldn't have wanted to show up to work. So I think once again, mental fortitude, leadership, the Rockies have these things in place. They just need to build around them. And Brenton Doyle is one of those people.
And yeah, Brenton Doyle is one of those guys. He'll be in center field on opening day. I'm 99.9% certain that'll be the case. And then unless a change is made, I am also 99.9% certain that Jordan Beck will be in left field. He is going to get another full-time look to see as far as goes. Granted, he didn't have a fantastic year, but he had a quality year given the fact of the makeup of the team. So, we'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, so just real quick, turning over to the pitching side. I gotta say, when it comes to German Marquez, I think this is probably going to be. This could very well be could have been his final year in a Rockies uniform. I don't know what the future is for him. In 26 starts, he did pitch 126 and a third innings for us to the tune of a 6.7 ERA. I don't know what real quick. What's your take on him, if you don't mind me asking?
As far as if he's going to come back, or
yeah, what do you think? What do you think about his? I mean, we can't thank him so much anymore for his tenure as a Rocky, but I don't know if it's going to. I don't know if he's coming back.
If you had to ask me right now, I don't think that he will come back. I don't think that that's a bad thing necessarily for either party. I think German deserves a chance to go and see if he can flourish in a place that's not Coors Field. He has the right to go and look for a team that may offer him a better chance to win. And I think for the Rockies in general, it's time to move to a younger rotation. I don't think that it's a wise investment for where the Rockies are at right now to invest in a 30-year-old pitcher for 3 or 4 years. I just don't think that's a good decision. I do think that German is going to be better next year for whoever he pitches for, because this year he's just coming off the injury, right? And we weren't really sure what we were going to see from him. And I think I jumped on the bandwagon and thought that he was going to be back to form and things like that. But as a baseball player, should have known better. These things take time, and sometimes they take a year or two to recover from as far as these injuries are concerned. I think he has a ton left in the tank. I think he needs to get away from Coors Field and rejuvenate his career somewhere else, and I think he will.
Yeah, I just double checked. He is a free agent, so he will not be coming back, or he won't be under contract for 2026. So he is an unrestricted free agent. He will hit the market. I don't think the Rockies will bring him back. Here's something of note. His 26 starts, Kyle Freeland led the team with 31 starts and 162 and 2/3 innings. He is still under contract. Again, he had his struggles, but he was the best pitcher for us down the stretch at the end of the season. So, got to commend the guy for that. And it looks like he is still going to be, I guess, the main veteran of the leading veteran of the staff, because also it looks like Austin Gomber is not going to be back either.
Yeah, I don't think Kyle Freeland, just being the guy from Colorado, the hometown guy, I don't think he wants to go anywhere. I think he wants to see this through and be here when the Rockies do turn it around, hopefully in the next 2 years, and be part of that. I'm not sure if that's going to be possible because he is 32 years old at this point. And I think he has 2 years left on that contract, Tom?
He's under contract through 2026, but he has a vesting option for 2027.
Vesting option.
I think it's based on innings pitched, I believe.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, I mean, I think the Rockies should just go younger in general. I don't see them being without Kyle Freeland next year for a couple reasons, just because, and I love you, Kyle. If you ever watch this podcast, I'm not talking bad about you at all, but just based on the numbers this year, you know, he's going to have to turn it around, of course. And maybe if not, maybe it's time for Kyle Freeland to get a change of scenery. Because again, we've been talking about this, Tom. The new GM, new president of baseball operations, they're going to come in and they're going to not only have their own manager, own uh, manager and general manager, but they're going to have their own players too. They're going to want players that they're going to want to have here. They're going to want players to be removed from the situation. So that's something to take into consideration as well. But Kyle Freeland, dude, I mean, we have nothing but positive things to really say about him. I think that injuries have derailed his career in a lot of ways, and that's very unfortunate. But, you know, would I like to see him back for another year to see if he can turn it around and pitch the way he did those last couple times? Absolutely. But, you know, we'll see what happens with all the new guys that are coming in to run the ship.
His win-loss record is not exactly desirable, but one thing's for sure, if you look at most of his pitching lines for most of his starts, he does show flashes of greatness. It's just, you know, it's a tough environment to pitch in at Coors Field, as we all know, and being on a team that has been insufferable to watch for the last several years is not exactly a fun environment to be. But like you said, whoever the new head is going to evaluate the roster from top to bottom. All the players are getting evaluated. Everyone's getting, so we'll see. And then real quick, the two relievers I wanted to touch on is, first of all, Victor Vodnik. Again, not a lot of people were talking about him. He had a quietly solid year, 4-3 record, 3.02 ERA in 50 and 2/3 innings pitched. I know he dealt with the one injury, but again, we don't necessarily have the guy closer, but I think he definitely at the minimum could be a solid middle relief option for the 7th, 8th, maybe the 9th inning in a situation where our closer is not available.
Yeah, not only was that ERA pretty darn good for a guy who pitches at Coors Field, but his ERA plus was 162. So we're talking about 62 points above league average, which is absolutely outstanding for a Rockies pitcher. Of course, Jimmy Herget was like 200, I believe, or 199. But yeah, Victor Vodnik is a guy that, like you said, quietly had a nice season. I think the Rockies have the makings of a nice, young stable of arms. Vodnik, Mejia, Agnos, hopefully Herget, right? Because he's arbitration eligible. Halverson, of course. I think the Rockies are headed in the right direction there. It's just about finding starting pitching that can pitch at Coors Field. You got to find the Jimmy Herget type of guys that can start at Coors Field, and then we'll be in a good position.
Right. And I was just going to, of course, touch on Herget. Yeah, that's another guy who we should be happy about. We at least have a couple of solid options. But again, it's all about, you know, it's been a while since we've had the guy to lock down the 9th inning. But then someone's going to probably come back at us with, well, how are you going to convert saves if you don't have save opportunities? Ha, ha, ha. Thank you for that reminder.
Wow.
But the point is there at least have options. And one guy I've touched on previously, Brody Brecht, I'm excited for when he gets to the big leagues. That is a guy who I could see. People ask me, could he be a starter? I'd say no. He could be a lockdown reliever, I think, in my opinion.
100% agreed. And I think the Rockies are building, like I said, a young stable of arms. You add him to that, and he performs the way that we think he's capable of. The Rockies are set in that bullpen. Juan Mejia was another one that was pretty darn solid for the Rockies this year. His ERA was just under 4, but his ERA plus was also above 100 at 123. And his whip was under 1.3, which is good for a Rockies pitcher. So I think the Rockies have a lot of young, exciting arms that should bring people to the ballpark next year. We just got to figure out that starting pitching. And it's just, once we figure this out, Tom, we will then be able to get some fringe free agents to come here. But right now, absolutely nobody in their right mind is going to come play for the Rockies until we figure out what kind of pitcher is actually going to play at Coors Field. And we need the new president of baseball operations to figure this out.
at the same time, not only figure out what strategy, but also saying maybe also what pitch makes work.
Your pitch
Maybe we need,
repertoire. Yep.
yeah, exactly. Figure it out, or example, or also work on location. Cause I don't know if you saw, I think it was Pitching Ninja or somebody did an analysis of what a pitch looks like away from Coors Field and at Coors Field. And they had them side by side and looked at them and said, it's just like, yeah, there's not as, anybody can understand who understands Coors Field can see that part of it. So, as you wrap this up, why don't we talk about one or two prospects? I already mentioned one guy I'm really excited about, Brody Brecht. I know we're all excited about Ethan Holiday. I mean, he is, just for anybody who doesn't know, he's the son of Rockies, I would say Rockies great Matt Holiday. His brother Jackson is in the infield for the Baltimore Orioles, who are, of course, in a tough spot right now, but we'll see how that situation progresses. Adam, I mean, Brody Brecht, like I said, I'm excited about him. Adam, why don't you give me another prospect who you would say you're excited about as well? Because I think we also could say Condon, but what's one for you?
Yeah, for sure. So for how many years, Tom, have we dealt with a hole at this position, second base, right? The Rockies made a very good move. And if this was Bill Schmidt's, last swan song as a Rockies GM, he did a heck of a job here getting Rock Riggio from the Yankees, because this guy is full of juice. He's very athletic. His numbers this year were outstanding. He had an 880 OPS this year in the minors. He hit 20 home runs. You tell me that 20 home runs and an 880 OPS don't fit in at Coors Field or in this Rockies lineup right now. I think that was such a good get for the Rockies. He's a little bit, I mean, I'm not tall myself, but he's a little bit smaller. He's 5'9", 180. But this dude can hit. He brings the juice. And I'm really, really excited about him, Tom.
Well, typically when you have those first of all, when you have the smaller players, they typically play second base. Second base is not a place where the tall guys play anyway.
Good point.
And you got it. And the point is about the little guys, like like I'll throw a name out there, Brett Lillibridge or your Dustin Pedroias. They're scrappy. The small guys, they're scrappy. They grind at bats. That's awesome. That's what I want.
And the Rockies need that. They need a little bit of dog in them, right? And I'm not saying these guys on the roster don't have that, but the Rockies need someone with a little bit more edge. We talked about this before the season started. I thought Zach Veen would be that guy, and he still can be. Don't get me wrong, and I have not given up on Zach Veen whatsoever. I think we need to do right by him, like you were saying earlier. Give these guys the right tools to develop, and then if they don't, it's on them, right? But guys like this are needed in the Rockies lineup. And guys who can, just energize the team and help us when we need to have a big comeback at Coors Field, and when we need just like a nice little pick-me-up during the game. And we need guys that can get on base, and this guy can do it. 880 OPS. I mean, he's an exciting player, and I have no idea how the Rockies got him in that trade. None.
And also, another big thing to point out also about him is he played across 3 levels: rookie ball, A, and double A.
Yes, he did.
So that can, and just to kind of paint a picture for people, that can be tough going across 3 levels in one season, especially for a guy who basically just got to pro, not just did, but he arrived in pro baseball 2 years ago. So,
and he hit more home runs, Tom, when he went up to double A. So,
and also a good thing about him is, people talk about Amador's versatility as a switch hitter. I like that Roggio is just a flat out lefty, because right now we could use a solid lefty in our lineup right now. Because kind of, to be honest, we like when you look at Goodman, Beck, Doyle, they're all righties. I mean, you got Moniak, who's a switch hit. Moniak is a switch hitter. But having that natural left-handed bat would be, I think, very beneficial.
Does Moniak switch hit? I thought he was just a lefty.
Oh, hold on, I'm sorry. My apologies. If I'm wrong, I'm looking up. If I'm wrong, I apologize to everybody.
No, if I'm wrong, I'm losing my mind, I think.
No. I'm sorry. Again, apologies. He's a straight lefty. So
okay.
But so I'll rephrase my statement. Adding another straight left-handed hitter to the lineup would be beneficial. And like I said, I want a guy who's scrappy. Why not have a guy who grinds at bats and is, shrinks the strike zone a little bit and is tough to get out? Why not have a Dustin Pedroia?
Yeah, a Dustin Pedroia, a David Eckstein, a guy like that, that will just annoy the crap out of the other team, but will get on base for your team. And I'm just really, I don't know how the Rockies swung that in that trade. Him and Griffin Herring, I think they were in the same trade. If not, either way they got them both from the Yankees. And for what they gave up, I think the Rockies did so well in those trades, and I'm excited for Rock.
And another thing about Griffin Herring is he's a lefty, so
yes, sir.
Because in the top 10 rankings for our farm system right now, we have 3 pitchers. We have 2 lefties and one lefty, which is Herring, and then the other ones are righties, which is Middleton and Brecht. So,
where is Rock in that?
Say again, or Rock Raggio? He's 10.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we'll probably see him next year at some point.
And they've officially changed Charlie Condon's position setup. They have him as a first baseman outfielder now. They took their base out of there.
Yeah. Well, I think we're in a pretty good spot with the way Warming Bernabel played this year with him starting out the season at first base, maybe finding him a place somewhere else on the field later in the season, or maybe DHing him or whatever. And then Condon, I think we'll see him probably middle of next year.
If it wouldn't surprise me if the new manager doesn't have an everyday DH. I think if it's a revolving door, because you're going to need that because if you want to keep Hunter Goodman in the lineup. That's my personal opinion.
Sure.
I mean, yeah, would it be nice to have a David Ortiz or a Frank Thomas? Of course, but nowadays, given how you want to kind of keep guys' legs fresh, but at the same time keep the bat in the lineup, you have to use that DH spot as a revolving door, kind of.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out here. I don't even know if he's a free agent, but I have always, and it doesn't matter to me, but I've always wanted to see Giancarlo Stanton play home games at Coors Field. I'm just hoping at some point, even if it doesn't make sense, that we just see it for a season, because I think that would be amazing.
Well, I know for a fact he wants a ring so bad. Let me check. Well, I just pulled up again. It was a 13-year deal that he signed way back in the last decade. He is under contract through 2027 with a team option with a team option for 28.
And he's what, 36?
35. He'll be 36 in November.
Yeah, so that's right up the Rockies' alley. When he turns 37, they'll sign him. But
it's just like, to be honest, I got to give he's a guy who, again, he's only what, I can't remember if it's 50 or 49 home runs away. He passed 450 just a few weeks ago. But he's on track for the Hall of Fame, and I know he wants that ring on his finger when he goes.
Hey, but who knows, Tom? Maybe we turn it around at that point and he becomes like a Giambi type situation, because Giambi came here and he thought he was going to win with us too. That's why he came here.
And he came to us from New York too. Exactly.
So never give up hope, Rockies fans. I just want to see him hit tanks at Coors Field for a season.
Well, if maybe it's too bad that we couldn't convince him to, I'm not sure if he was asked or if he had any interest in doing the home run derby when it was at Coors Field, because he is a former champion, because he is a former champ of the home run derby, and we were so close. Well, not so close, but if only he had gotten past that first round in Miami, we could have seen him and him and Judge go at it in the finals of the home run derby in South Beach. But
that would have been amazing.
that's what everybody was rooting for. But we got spoiled. I think he lost to Miguel Sano, I think is who he lost to.
I think that sounds right. I have a side note though, real quick, about the Coors Field home run derby. No one saw this because they weren't recording. They were just hitting batting practice. Ohtani hit one out of the stadium. He hit it over the rooftop and out of Coors Field during batting practice.
I didn't see the video, but I heard about it.
It was the most majestic thing I've ever seen. And I'm not the biggest Ohtani fan because he's always played for teams that I dislike, but that was just, I was like, did he just hit that? And everyone was like, yep, he just hit it over the rooftop and out of the stadium. I was like, oh my goodness. I've never seen that.
He's a unicorn of a baseball player.
He is, man. He is.
It's just what people don't truly understand, first of all, how much it takes to be an elite hitter and elite pitcher on its own. Crazy. Now you combine those two responsibilities into one, how much work it goes into being elite at two things at the highest level.
Crazy.
I mean, it's one thing to be a all-state pitcher and hitter in high school. It's one
Yeah.
thing, but when you get to the highest level possible, where you're not using aluminum bats and you're facing the best hitters in the world, I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean,
you
he,
and I get it. You and I get it, but yeah.
he's fun to watch, but I don't want him to win another World Series as long as he's with the Dodgers. But
I just
yes, I totally get it. Being good at one thing as a baseball coach myself,
mm,
that's hard enough. Hitting the ball is the hardest thing in sports. Hitting a baseball is the hardest thing in sports for a professional baseball player, especially. So for him to be good at that, not only good, great at that, and then to turn around and be able to strike Bryce Harper out in the same breath is just incredible.
well, he's going to start game one of the division series. It is funny whenever he finishes an inning on the mound, he goes right over to the dugout and just gives his glove to somebody. They give him his batting gloves, his elbow pad, his leg guard, and his bat, and his helmet. He just puts it on, goes to the on deck circle, and warms up for an at bat. It's just crazy. But again, we can have an Otani chat session some other day. But as we wrap this up here, that's again, my final thoughts on the Rockies season. Again, I'm not gonna. Again, you're talking to a guy who's also a White Sox fan who went through the worst season in modern baseball history last year in 2024. I am. It's a double-edged sword for me because I'm glad that the Rockies, I guess, avoided the wrong side of history. There are a few. I know you could say we've hit rock bottom, but look at the 2025 White Sox, a 19-win improvement from 2024. There are signs of improvement, but in the Rockies situation, I think it's all going to fall upon whoever they hire to be the new voice of this organization, of the baseball operations. And that's what it's going to come down to, in my opinion. And so first the name is the individual's got to be named, and then we'll see. Because if they want to win, they've got a lot of work to do. That's all I can say.
And as sports fans, I'm going to use this myself as a cautionary tale because I've been wrong so many times in my life. Whoever this guy is, our initial reaction may or may not be positive, but regardless, we need to give him a chance to do the job. Because how many times as sports fans have we seen, oh, they hired that guy, they're never going to do anything. And then they win a Super Bowl, right? Or they win a World Series. Or, they traded for that guy, he's never done anything. And then he's the MVP of the playoffs. So let's give whoever this guy is an opportunity. Let's welcome him to our community and hope that he can turn this thing around. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing we can't, unless some divine miracle happens, we're not making the 2026 World Series, everybody. This progress is not instant. We're not going to get instantaneous results. We have to be patient. I know it's frustrating. We don't want to be patient, but we have to have a sense of just understanding, it's going to take some time, but we'll see. I'm first of all, we got to find out who the person is going to be. That's all. We have to wait and see who that's going to be. So
if that person can get us to like 74 and 88 next year,
that'd be quite a jump.
That would be incredible. And I think the Rockies have the young talent to make a leap like that. I do. They just need to be utilized and developed correctly.
If they get to the mid 60s, I'll say that's a success.
That too.
That's my bar. If they at least get to the low to mid 60s, that's, again, I'll use the White Sox compare with them, 41 to 60 wins. Let's say the Rockies go to 63, that's a good start. I would say that's a good start.
Yeah. I think a lot of us who are plugged into the Rockies fully expect them to be competitive by 2027, though.
It's going to be quite a climb given the division we're in. And again, people already would come back and say, what about division realignment? That hold up, pump the brakes here. Let's not talk about that just yet. That's just right now. That's only just an idea. It's coming, but it's not in the next 2 years. So
it's not coming.
Let's sit back and wait on that.
Let's go take down the Dodgers. That's all I have to say.
Let's go. Let's knock them off their comfortable spot on top of the mountain.
We can do it. It can be done. They're not invincible. They've proven this multiple times in the playoffs. We just got to build the right team. And I know that we can do this at Coors Field.
The Giants did it a couple years ago.
Yep.
So anyway, so with that being said, that's going to do it for this episode of the Rockies Now podcast. Please be sure to follow us all on our social media platforms, Instagram, X, and Threads. And if you don't subscribe to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, be sure to do that. Also, click subscribe on the YouTube channel to keep updates and alerts on when new shows are coming available. So with that being said, that's going to do it from my name is Tom. That is Adam. Sorry, that is Adam. we will see you guys in the next episode. And as always, go Rockies.
Go Rockies.